The United States rejected accusations of aggression against Venezuela at an emergency United Nations Security Council meeting, saying the operation was a law enforcement action tied to long-standing criminal charges.
As Secretary Rubio has said, there is no war against Venezuela or its people. We are not occupying a country. This was a law enforcement operation in furtherance of lawful indictments that have existed for decades. The United States arrested a narco-trafficker who is now going to stand trial in the United States in accordance with the rule of law for the crimes he's committed against our people for 15 years. The United States will not waver in our actions to protect Americans from the scourge of narco-terrorism and seeks peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela.
While Venezuela's UN Ambassador Samuel Moncada said international norms were at risk in the aftermath of the US arrest, and also urged the Security Council to demand that Washington release Maduro and his wife.
Venezuela is a victim of these attacks as a result of its natural wealth. Oil, energy, strategic resources, and the geopolitical position of our country have historically been factors of greed and external pressure. When the use of force is used to control resources, impose governments, or redesign states, we are faced with a logic that refers to the worst practice of colonialism and neo-colonialism. Accepting this logic implies opening the door to a profoundly unstable world where countries with greater military capabilities can decide by force the political and economic destiny of other states.
And following the swearing-in ceremony of interim leader Delcy Rodriguez, thousands of protesters gathered outside the Venezuelan parliament in Caracas on Monday, demanding the release of ousted leader Nicolas Maduro. All right, DD India's Akshay Dongre joins us for more. He's in New Delhi. Akshay, first up, could you explain how has the issue played out at the United Nations and what concerns, in fact, were raised by the member states?
Well, as far as the role of United Nations in this entire fiasco is concerned, it has once again been reduced to insignificant voice that the main players, do not have any trust on or do not heed any, responsibility to. As far as the United States is concerned, it is a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, which means that at the apex security body of the UN, if the motion is sent, it can simply be vetoed, which renders the entire organization useless, but to be a voice that can speak to the world. However, the question still remains that who are going to listen to the United Nations as far as this blatant act of abduction of a president by one of the world's largest military is concerned. It's not just the taking of Maduro to the US and trying him in their court, on their land, under their rules and by their own judge. The bigger problem also remains the statements that are coming in from the United States President, the first person of the country, stating that they own the country now, they're going to run the country now, and they are going to take the oil and send in their big companies to take the oil that they claim and Donald Trump claims has been stolen from them. However, the question remains that on what legality are they going to run, Venezuela, a sovereign country. In fact, yesterday Marco Rubio, during an interview with the ABC, the Australian Broadcast Corporation, when he was asked the question about on what legality, he was seen clearly evading the questions as far as the legality and the basis of their claim that they are going to run another country now. So if not invasion, there is no other way to put it. As far as the local politics of Venezuela is concerned, Delcy Rodriguez has been elected the interim president in the absence of Nicolas Maduro. However, the opposition has stayed away from the swearing in which other legislative members have also been sworn in. So it clearly shows a camp that has supported the action that has been taken by the United States, the military action, especially of abduction of Nicolas Nicolas Maduro, and on the other hand, the government that is there still in play in Venezuela. Also, what we are hearing from the Venezuelan side is that they're also trying to gather support from international players, especially from China and Russia, along with other countries in Latin America that are supporting Venezuela as far as their breach of their territorial integrity and sovereignty is concerned, especially by Chile. There is Cuba, there is Colombia. Brazil has also expressed its own sincere, concerns as far as this action by the US is concerned, and the Chilean president has said that if it's Venezuela today, it can be Chile tomorrow, or it can be any other country in the future, where might is right will only be the law of the land and of the world, especially in geopolitics.
Also, Akshay, Maduro has pleaded not guilty in the court. Delcy Rodriguez sworn in as interim president. Nothing concrete at UNSC, like you also pointed out. Considering how the situation has panned out in the last 3-4 days, what do we expect in the next few days, in the coming days?
Well, firstly, the action that has been taken by United States is clearly going to deteriorate the world peace in the long run, because a dangerous precedent has been set by a country that talks about democracy, for the rest of the world, where they have gone inside a country with the leadership they did not agree on trade and other issues, and abducted the leader. So it is only going to give other countries like China, probably Russia, they're already going conflict in Ukraine, China when it comes to Taiwan. Other countries can also give the same example, and there will be no moral standing of the US or even the European countries now to speak against it, because if the European blocs are not speaking against the US aggression in Venezuela, they will have no standing, to be honest, to speak against Putin or to speak against the Russian operation that is going on on the Ukrainian territory. So on one hand, they talk about tariffs. They talk about tariffs on other countries that are trading with Russia, and on the other hand, they themselves are committing an act of much more serious aggression against a sovereign country.
All right, Akshay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs.